Nobody told Paris to prepare for this. It started like any other night at Charles de Gaulle Airport. Flights landing, taxis idling, travelers shuffling through terminal doors. Ordinary, routine, forgettable. And then, the chanting began. Not a few voices, thousands, drums, blue, red, and yellow flags pushing through the crowd until the glass windows of Terminal 2 started shaking from the noise. Airport workers froze mid-step. French reporters reached for their cameras, wide-eyed, unsure of what they were even filming. Travelers who had nothing to do with any of this stopped, stared, and stayed, because you do not walk away from something like this. What they were witnessing was not the arrival of a football club or a world-famous music act. It was a 23-year-old tennis player from the Philippines stepping off a plane into the most electric airport reception France had seen in years. Her name is Alexandra Eala, and Paris had absolutely no idea what was coming. Here is what the French public could not wrap their heads around. Tennis players do not arrive like this, ever. Even the biggest names in the sport, players with multiple Grand Slam titles to their name, touch down quietly. A small coaching team, maybe a handful of waiting fans, a brief walkthrough. That is the tradition. Alexandra Eala rewrote it in a single night. Filipino communities had been organizing for weeks, from the suburbs of Paris to Marseille, Lyon, and Nice, even from neighboring countries across Europe. People coordinated travel plans, ordered custom jerseys, imported thousands of flags, and rehearsed synchronized chants like they were preparing for a championship final. French authorities reportedly expected a few hundred supporters at the terminal. They got a crowd that felt like a presidential welcome. Security had to be reinforced multiple times before Eala's flight even landed. When she finally stepped into public view, camera flashes erupted across the terminal in a continuous white wave. Elderly supporters who had traveled for hours by train held handmade banners reading "Laban Alex." Children sat on their parents' shoulders staring at her with the kind of awe usually reserved for people much larger than life. French journalists, veterans of big sporting moments, admitted afterward that they had never seen an airport arrival quite like it for a tennis player. One broadcaster called it a peaceful invasion of joy. That phrase stuck, because it was absolutely accurate. To understand why this happened, you have to understand who Alexandra Eala actually is, and what she means beyond the sport. She grew up in Quezon City and found her way to the Rafa Nadal Academy in Manacor, Spain, where her game was built from the ground up on three things: relentless pressure, tactical intelligence, and a mental toughness that seems almost unnatural for someone her age. Left-handed, fearless, and impossible to rattle, she developed a style designed to dismantle opponents before they ever find their rhythm. She dominated at the junior level. She collected titles, and with every step forward, something larger was forming around her. Not just results, but a story that an entire nation was watching. For Filipinos living abroad, overseas workers, families separated by distance, communities built far from home, sport has always carried emotional weight that goes far beyond competition. It becomes connection, identity, a thread running back to something familiar across thousands of miles of ocean. And when Alexandra Eala walks onto a court, she carries all of that with her. That is why the chants at Charles de Gaulle were not casual. That is why elderly supporters made 4-hour train journeys on a Tuesday night just to wave a flag at a terminal. The phrase circulating online ahead of her arrival, 50,000 Pinoys ready, was never just a slogan. It was a declaration. What has stunned the French tennis world most is not the emotion itself, but the sheer scale of it arriving on their doorstep. France has one of the deepest relationships with clay court tennis in the world. Roland Garros is sacred ground here. The red dirt is treated almost like a cultural artifact. The crowds are passionate, yes, but passionate in the French way, knowledgeable, restrained, applauding cleanly after good points. What arrived with Alexandra Eala is something the French have only previously seen at Champions League nights, at football stadiums packed with 80,000 people who sing for 90 minutes straight. That same velocity of emotion now pointed at a single tennis player on clay. Tournament organizers are dealing with a situation they did not plan for. How do you manage a crowd that functions as a home audience for a player competing 10,000 kilometers from where she was born? The answer, it turns out, is that you don't manage it. You simply watch it happen. And beyond the spectacle, beyond the flags and the drums and the airport ceiling shaking, there is a competitive reality that the rest of the draw cannot ignore. Alexandra Eala is not here as a feel-good story. She is here as a threat. Her left-handed serve forces opponents into angles they cannot prepare for. Her baseline game is patient and violent at the same time. She waits you out and then attacks the moment you give her an inch. On clay specifically, analysts have noted that she is far more dangerous than her ranking might suggest. Several have gone as far as predicting she could produce results that genuinely shock the top of the draw. And now consider the psychological dimension. Imagine being a player from France, competing on home soil, only to walk onto the court and feel the crowd energy overwhelmingly pulling against you. Not booing, something potentially harder to handle. A wall of noise, synchronized chants, tens of thousands of people vibrating with one shared purpose. That is not a neutral environment. That is a home court for the visitor. Opponents will not just be playing Alexandra Eala. They will be playing Alexandra Eala and everything standing behind her. There is one more thing worth saying. When the footage of her arrival spread across social media, people kept focusing on the crowd. Understandably so. But watch the footage again and pay attention to her. Long flight, chaos surrounding her on every side, cameras in her face before she has taken 10 steps off the plane. Thousands of people screaming her name, and she is calm, smiling, moving through it like she has been here before. Acknowledging the crowd not with the stiff wave of someone overwhelmed, but with genuine warmth. The kind of warmth that only comes when a person actually feels the moment rather than just enduring it. That is the quality that French observers kept mentioning. They called her presence regal, unshakable, the eye of the storm. That composure in that environment is perhaps the most alarming thing she showed the rest of the tournament. Because it means the pressure is not cracking her, it is feeding her. What happened at Charles de Gaulle was not just a remarkable airport scene. It was a signal, loud enough to vibrate through glass, that something genuinely different has arrived in European tennis. A young woman from Manila. A Filipino community unified across an entire continent. A story that is no longer quietly growing in Southeast Asia, but has crashed full force into the heart of the sport. Paris noticed. The French media is still trying to find the right words for what they witnessed. The rest of the draw is adjusting their expectations. And the 50,000 Pinoys who said they were ready? They were not exaggerating.